Hi there, I'm Gary Stearman, and we have a guest who you know. I know that many of you have seen him time and time again. This is a very special visit from L.A. Marzulli. And why is it special? It's special because we're talking about something that I think that everybody should be conscious of. But L.A., this phenomenon that we're going to speak of, and by the way, you've made a production concerning one particular crop circle. There, I've said it. We're going to talk about crop circles, and everybody ignores them. And why do they?
At their own peril, absolutely at their own peril, because they are messages, and these messages are saying something to us. It's a warning, in my opinion.
A warning? From whom? Who would be sounding this warning?
Well, the prince of the power of the air, because these things appear overnight in fields of rapeseed and fields of wheat all over the world, but there's a heavy concentration of them in the UK. And that's where they first started to appear. But it even goes back further. In the 1600s, the first crop circle appeared, and they call it the mowing devil. And the villagers came out and they saw the crops laid down, and immediately they attribute it to the handiwork of the dragon, i.e. the devil, Satan. So now you move into modernity, and the crop circles start appearing again overnight in a field of wheat or rapeseed or other crops. And at first they're very simple, and over a period of time they become more elaborate and more elaborate.
Now, I've seen LA's production on this subject. It's called Crop Circles, Exposing the Secret Language of the Dragon. And that just about says it all, the secret language of the dragon. Crop circles are a kind of language, although people, blow them off. A couple of guys out there, they've spent the evening in the tavern, and they take some rope and some 2x4s, and they go out in a wheat field and they make crop circles, and hey, that's all it, mystery solved, there's no problem. But that's not true. We've got here a kind of language, if you will, a supernatural language written in various kinds of grasses, crops, meadows, and this is what's amazing, even in places where it's virtually impossible to write, and we're talking about tall corn. Mm-hmm. Ever been in a cornfield?
I have, yes.
And you think, I'm going to run through this corn. No, you don't. If you run into one, it's like running into a tree. And in other words, they're tough, they're stiff, almost like they're made of some kind of a fiberglass material. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yet, whatever is doing this crop circle phenomenon can take a corn stalk and bend it without breaking it. How does that work?
And you just said something really important, that they bend the crop. The real crop circles you can tell in a couple of ways. The crop, whether it's wheat or corn, it's not broken. The stalks are not broken, they're bent. And the nodes where each part of the plant are, usually they're expanded. Many people that have studied this believe that there's some sort of microwave energy over the field which is creating this. Plus, and you mentioned the stalk stompers, which is string and a board, and they would start, if you haven't seen videos of it, the guy's walking through the field, he's holding the rope, it's around his neck, and he's holding the rope, and he's pulling it up and then stomping with his feet. So he's like going like this through the field and creating the pattern. We're not disputing that. We know that that's what happened. But there's evidence in the crop circles themselves, and the scientific community has looked at this, the fact that the nodes are blown open. You don't get that from just stomping on a field of wheat. Some high energy microwave-like energy wave was over the field, created it, and we see the evidence of it in the stalks themselves, which is mind-blowing. But you talk about the field of corn. In the real crop circles, the grain or whatever it is, specifically the one behind us, the corn, there's sections in those circles where the corn is laid like this. It's interwoven, one stalk upon another. So you're trying to tell me that at 2 o'clock in the morning, a couple of chuckleheads go out there and start bending the crop and weaving it? No. And then the crop isn't broken, it's bent. The nodes are expanded. They've also done studies with the seeds from the wheat or the rapeseed or whatever. And these seeds mature much, much faster than the normal seeds. So something is going on, and in my opinion, there's a supernatural component to it. And this is part of the whole UFO Disclosure Series, which, as you know, we've been doing, and it's an important part.
Now, this is kind of a, if you will, a fine art out there in the countryside. And by the way, some of the circles are not circles. Some are angular.
Yes.
Some have even featured a picture of an alien's head. And that alien's head happens to be next to a very large crop circle that seemed to be encoded, and a lot of computer experts have tried to decode it, and some think they have. In other words, we're looking at a kind of an earthly message board, and somebody is coming in and writing their little messages and leaving them for some reason. And who are they talking to? What are they saying? What are they doing, LA? Because if we can't at least make a stab at that, we sort of have to ignore it and say, well, that's too much for me. I'm going to go in and make myself a peanut butter sandwich. This makes my head spin. Why are we even discussing this subject? Everybody ignores it. They say, oh, hey, Martha, there's a crop circle, another crop circle. And she says, oh, those things happen all the time. Come in and let's eat dinner. And they just ignore what to me is a phenomenal, shall we call it a warning? I don't know.
There was a movie a few years ago called Signs, and it talked about the crop circles, and it had a very nefarious agenda. And of course, the entities who were doing it were extraterrestrials, and they had nefarious plans for us. We're saying from a biblical view, a biblical worldview, biblical paradigm, that these entities that are doing it are not from some faraway star system. They are, in fact, interdimensional entities. In fact, the entire series that we've done is based on the biblical prophetic narrative, stating that they're not from Zeta Reticuli, they're interdimensional. They are the prince, these are the fingerprints of the prince of the power of the air, i.e. the dragon, i.e. Satan. These are signs. And what they do in a farmer's field, the farmer walks out there in the morning and he goes, oh my gosh, how did this happen? And you know, Gary, some of these fields are way out in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
And the idea of a couple of guys with stalk stompers, you know, at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, making these intricate designs. And you talked about the circles are one thing, but then you get the angles. Then you get the alien face. And we show this. It happened in Crabwood. It's called the Crabwood glyph. And the late David Flynn deciphered that, as well as his brother Mark. They're twins, Mark and David Flynn. So I interviewed Mark, and some of that makes its way into the film. What's incredible about this, Mark Flynn's logo was an alien, a gray, holding a disc. This is way back when. And the crop circle that appears in the Crabwood circle is an alien head holding a disc. I mean, it's almost exactly alike. There is a message, and I'll tease you a little bit here with this. This is the work of the late David Flynn, which is absolutely extraordinary. When you begin to decipher the mathematics in the Crabwood glyph, there's a link between Crabwood and 1947 and the Roswell crash. It's embedded in the Crabwood glyph. And that is absolutely astounding. And that's the work of the late David Flynn. He was the one who went in and deciphered that. But of course, once again, it's his brother's company logo with the alien head holding that disc. And there it is in Crabwood, the UK, 1,947 miles from Roswell, New Mexico. And we know that the alleged disc crashed in Roswell in 1947. So there's absolutely, the language of the dragon, in my opinion, is geometry, advanced mathematics. And that's what we see embedded in these circles.
In other words, in a way, this is a message from the dark side to humanity saying, we know what you're doing, we're watching you, and we're responding with little flags out here. Why would they want to do that? What's the motivation, and why has this accelerated?
It's this cat and mouse game that we see all throughout the UFO phenomenon, from Close Encounters of the First Kind to the 60, 70-year cover-up of the Roswell crash, to now on Tucker Carlson talking about UFOs are real, they're burgeoning and not going away, with a steady stream of guests. The latest one, Nick Pope, telling us that now they're the Pentagon once again revealing or releasing what once was classified information. So our government is telling us that this phenomenon is real. The cat and mouse game with the crop circles has created a group of followers who believe that these are, in fact, our space brothers. I know you and I will adamantly state these are not our space brothers. And there's a signature here, which I call it convergence. We were actually thinking about calling the film Convergence. We didn't. But what we uncovered was the relationship between where the crop circles are placed, specifically in the UK, because they're by these ancient megalithic structures like Stonehenge, like Avebury, like Silbury Hill. And that is deliberate, because these megalithic sites are thousands and thousands of years old. And we'll get into this perhaps in a little bit, but the crop circle right behind us appeared in a field of corn in Chillicothe, Ohio, within a day or two of our first Nephilim Mounds Conference.
By the
in
way, that is a
2012.
megalithic site. If you go there and look at the earthwork, that's megalithic era. In other words, very possibly pre-flood. And what we're talking about here is an acknowledgement from the other side that this is an important place. And by the way, we're putting our mark on it, and it's still ours. To me, it's almost like a claim of ownership.
I agree.
When you go
It's
out,
like a stamp.
a stamp and a seal from the dark side. And it's happening increasingly in this time period, in which we unabashedly refer to as the latter days. And the signs are all around us, but the crop circles sort of put a little accent on it.
They do, and circling back, no pun intended, to the Chillicothe site. So you've got the Chillicothe site right here, and the 43 circles, second largest crop circle in the United States history, okay? 43 circles, it's called Dragon's Head. That's what the crop circle researchers call it, Dragon's Heads. There it is. Well, the crop circle, let's say I'll use a prop, is here. Right across, it's next to a river, and directly across from this crop circle are the Chillicothe earthworks, the mounds. And so what's astounding about this is this crop circle appears within a day or two, either on the same day, the day before, or the day after, of the first Nephilim Mounds Conference in Newark, Ohio, where you stood up and delivered a message which changed my life. It's all about the seed. And this is the signature of the dragon. They didn't like this because what we were doing, and this is astounding to think about. You were there, Russ Dizdar was there, and yours truly. The three of us were there uncovering the truth about the mounds, that these are not Native American vestiges, as it were. They did copies of this, but the Serpent Mound, the Great Circle Mound, the Octagon Mound, the mounds that we see in Chillicothe, these were done, in our opinion, I call it Nephilim architecture, fallen angel technology. So here we are at the Nephilim Mounds Conference, and we're talking about this, revealing for the first time in history what is the truth about all this. And the dragon didn't like it, and that's his signature.
You're listening to L.A. Marzulli, who has produced a DVD on crop circles. What are they? Well, explain a little. And he does, by the way. It's a very, very nice, nicely done, compact production. By the way, L.A. occasionally writes for The Prophecy Watcher, our monthly magazine. And here's how you can get your subscription to that magazine.
Everything that we're doing at Prophecy Watchers is vital because Bible prophecy is coming to pass right before our eyes. And it has never been more important for believers to understand what the Bible says about the days that we are living in. In case you haven't noticed, the whole world is spinning out of control, but we are not surprised because many of the things taking place were prophesied in the Bible thousands of years ago. That's why we want to offer you a very special subscription to our magazine, The Prophecy Watcher, that will keep you on the cutting edge of Bible prophecy. Stay informed on prophetic world events. Follow the nuclear threats from Russia and Iran, China's march to world domination, the likelihood of another global pandemic, the rise of artificial intelligence and transhumanism, war in the Middle East, the UFO phenomenon, and the latest technology preparing the world for the mark of the beast. The Prophecy Watcher magazine features articles from leading prophecy experts like Gary Stearman, Mondo Gonzalez, Thomas Ice, Randall Price, L.A. Marzulli, Bill Salas, and many others. With your gift of $50 or more to support the worldwide outreach of Prophecy Watchers, you will receive 12 issues of the magazine in either print or digital format. You will also receive 10 bonus DVDs that feature in-depth teaching on the ancient book of Enoch, heaven and the New Jerusalem, the biblical case for the rapture, a look at how God put the gospel in the stars, what really happened at the Tower of Babel, and Ezekiel's prophecy on the Battle of Gog and Magog. This special offer is available anywhere in the United States with free shipping included. Don't wait. Pick up the phone right now and call the toll-free number on your screen or visit us at prophecywatchers.tv. Stand with us today and help us take the message of Christ's soon return to the whole world.
With us, L.A. Marzulli. Always good to talk to L.A. It's always a contest to see who can talk the most. But I defer to you, sir. And you are pushing away here at a concept that I think should be bored into the brain of every Christian, that we are living in times when Satan and the forces of Satan, what Paul wrote about in Ephesians, and he said, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. We're wrestling against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness in heavenly places. And that's exactly what you're talking about.
Well, the Bible tells us that when the dragon shows up, that Satan will come with all signs
Yes.
and lying wonders. Now, if this isn't a sign, I don't know what is. It's happening in modernity, although we can trace it back into the 16th century. I understand that. But it's accelerating. They appear year after year. And some of these are just incredibly complex. There's also a clip that we show, and it shows a field. I believe it's wheat, but I could be wrong. And there are these two orbs over the field, and they're circling the field like this. And as they're doing it, and we show this in the film, a crop circle emerges right underneath the orbs. Other people have seen this. Other people have actually seen the orbs creating the crop circles. So we're looking at some sort of technology that, dare I say, is beyond anything that we have here.
You know, you're reading my mind, because the word technology had popped into my head just before you used it. This is what we're talking about here. Satan has technology.
Absolutely.
And in fact, I've got my ever-present copy of the Book of Enoch here. And you know, when you read the Book of Enoch, what do you read about? You read about fallen angels who came down. One of them, well, their leader was named Azazel, a name that shall live in infamy forever. And he taught men scientific principles. In fact, all of those fallen angels came to teach humanity how to do certain things that God didn't necessarily
Forbidden knowledge.
approve of or acknowledge. And the if you will, motivation behind the satanic is always to try to corrupt men's minds. And that's what they're doing today.
Well, not only that, but there's and I agree with you. They're corrupting the minds of human beings through this deception.
Exactly.
They're leading them along. And the end game is deception. And this is dare I say, the counterbalance to what Ancient Aliens, with all due respect, on the History Channel is promulgating every Friday. We have the answers from a biblical narrative, from the biblical perspective, from a biblical paradigm. We're showing that, no, this is not from Zeta Reticuli or some,
Right.
space brothers who are here for our own good. This is deception. And just like the devil, the dragon deceived Eve in the garden, that's what we're looking at now.
Not extraterrestrials from some other galaxy.
Epsilon Eridani.
Epsilon Eridani, which is the name that always pops into our minds, but not coming from another galaxy, but coming from another, if you will, dimension, the dimension in the heavens. And by the way, Paul himself talks about the third heaven. And dimensionality is a big part of the Bible. Mm-hmm. So we're not supposed to be ignorant about it. And just across the visual barrier, mm-hmm. there are principalities and powers and rulers of darkness, and there's their slaves, the demons. You and I believe that the little gray guys that drive the little UFOs, and everybody reports on seeing them, those are just little bondservants, little slaves.
They're slaves, absolutely.
Of the demonic.
Yep. And
they do the work. But the demonic work is to corrupt the mind of mankind and to persuade man that he's being visited by beneficent overlords who have come here to help us. And they've come from long ago and far, far away.
And really what's at stake here is this usurps the authority of the God of the Bible.
It does.
Because if God didn't create us, and the neo-Darwinists are promulgating this all day long, then who did? Maybe, in fact, when Ben Stein sits down with Richard Dawkins in his classic film, Expelled No Intelligence Allowed, and he asked Dawkins, well, where do you think life began? How did this all start? And Dawkins looks at him and says, well, it could have happened this way, and he goes off, in a galaxy far, far away, we were created here by an advanced race of extraterrestrials and then seated here. And that usurps the God of the Bible. This is what's at stake. This is why we're making the film. We're pointing back and saying, no, we weren't created by extraterrestrials. Jesus spoke us into existence. He created all things, and without him was nothing that was not made that was made.
And that's preached week in and week out, day in and day out by those of us who are doing the work of the Lord. But there's something else, and there is, I think, the idea of being awake to the possibility that there is an enemy out there working to destroy everything that God has built. And I think Christians, in many cases, are very ignorant about that. And that's why we have guys like you and coming in and presenting their products. But speaking of which, let's pause here, and I want you to see how you can obtain LA's DVD.
L.A. Marzulli's passion for biblical truth has taken him on archaeological adventures all around the world. He believes that we'll soon see full government disclosure surrounding the exploding UFO phenomenon, perhaps as a way to explain away the rapture of the church. And when it comes to the 6th chapter of Genesis, a study on the hybrid giants of the Bible, L.A. is one of the world's leading experts on the subject. His latest film, Crop Circles, Exposing the Secret Language of the Dragon, is his 5th film in his UFO Disclosure Series. There's nothing more bizarre than these complicated designs that appear overnight in highly charged demonic locations like Stonehenge in England or the Serpent Mount in Ohio. No one really has a logical explanation. It's supernatural. You're going to learn about these mysterious images on LA's new film and hear from the experts. The images in the wheat fields may be aliens, complicated mathematical formulas, serpents, astronomical secrets, precise architectural drawings, and peculiar messages of peace to mankind. Satan's army of fallen angels seems to be entertaining us just beyond the veil. LA's new film is available for your gift of $25 or more, with shipping included anywhere in the USA. Just call the toll-free number you see on your screen or visit us online at prophecywatchers.tv. If you want to avail yourself of all 5 of LA's groundbreaking films in the UFO Disclosure Series, including the new Crop Circles film, we have a special offer today. We're making all 5 films available for your gift of $100 or more, and we're adding 4 fascinating bonus DVDs to the TV offer. Bonus number 1, the Supernatural Book DVD set, includes 3 hours of amazing research featuring Gary, Mondo, and LA discussing the UFO phenomenon, the Nephilim, the seed of the serpent, and the supernatural side of Scripture. Bonus number 2 is the Mysteries of the Red Planet DVD, an hour-long study on the planet Mars. Was there an angelic civilization on Mars in the ancient past? Did Mars experience a nuclear catastrophe at one time? Gary Stearman and Doug Woodward will fill you in on all the details surrounding the war planet. Simply ask for the Marzulli Disclosure Package, and we'll get all 5 DVDs plus the 4 bonus DVDs heading your way. The Bible tells us that one day Satan will appear with miraculous signs and lying wonders, but you have nothing to fear if you know Jesus. The rapture of the church may be the most supernatural event in the whole Bible, so we'll see you here, there, or in the air.
We're talking about the enemy here, and we're talking about our government and many world governments rolling out the red carpet for the enemy, giving them publicity, presenting them as possibly our helpers, or the people who have come here from a distance away to help man reach the next level of...
That's exactly what they'll say, a golden age.
A golden age. I think, yeah, that says it all.
Yep.
And you and I, of course, do not hold with that.
No, we believe that this is part of the coming great deception. And remember, let no one deceive you, let no one deceive you. Jesus' warnings. So something is happening all around us. We need to wake up.
And the crop circle that you really feature, the starring Dragon's Head crop circle, it would be impossible to make. Human beings can't make these things, and you show why in your DVD.
Absolutely.
And then the conclusion that must be drawn is, if humans didn't do it, somebody else did. Why are they doing what they are doing? Should we be conscious of this? And the answer, of course, is yes. And why should we be conscious?
Because it's an elaborate deception. It's pulling people away from the God of the Bible. Your kids and your grandkids, I guarantee you, know more about this stuff than you do, which is why get the DVD, get the series, invite a bunch of people over, your family members, watch them, and then talk about them and discuss. This is it's part of the coming great deception, and that's why we're making the films.
And I'm glad that you're doing the work you're doing.
Thank you, Gary.
L.A. Marzulli, he's talking about crop circles this time. You need to pay attention. I'm Gary Stearman. Hey, you keep watching. We are. Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com, where you can sign up for our free email newsletter, or follow us at facebook.com/prophecywatchers. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.